How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new video where we are going to be talking about the Elder Scrolls Online. We will be taking a look at the game's content, its pros and cons, and let's face it, the whole reason you're here, which is to see if ESO is worth playing in 2021. So let's get started. So first off, let's talk a little bit about what Elder Scrolls Online is and what it has to offer. ESO is a massive multiplayer online role-playing game, or MMORPG for short, where you will create a character and choose between its three different factions: the Daggerfall Covenant, the Eldameri Dominion, and the Ebonheart Pact. There are a total of 10 races to choose from, but do keep in mind each of these three factions that I just mentioned has only 3 races that you can play with that faction. Only the Imperial race can play as any faction, or there is a bundle available in the game's monetization store that allows you to play any race for any faction. There are currently 6 classes to choose from: the Dragon Knight, Nightblade, Sorcerer, Templar, Warden, and Necromancer. The first of 5 which are available with the purchase of the game, and in order to play the Necromancer class, you will need to purchase either the class or its DLC elsewhere. There is a decent level of customization to your character in ESO, as well as tons of armor cosmetics to unlock, making it possible for you to make your character look and feel exactly how you want them to. Leveling in ESO can be explained pretty easily. You will start at level 1 and work your way up to level 50, and then you will begin the end game levels, which are called champion points. As of right now, the max champion points in ESO is 3,600. I know, it seems almost impossible to get to the end, but these champion point levels are much easier to earn than the levels 1 through 50. These champion points give your character bonus stats as you level them up. There is so much more I could explain about ESO, but for the sake of keeping the video relatively short, let's jump into what I think are some of the pros about ESO. ESO has a fully voice-acted questing system that is actually amazing. This makes for a very enjoyable time running around the different regions of Tamriel, participating in various quests. If you are a new or returning player, it is still really easy to immerse yourself in the story and the lore of the game, and this definitely has to be one of the biggest reasons to play ESO in 2021. Another pro is that in ESO you can really play exactly how you want to play. You can easily play solo or with other people, and it does not matter what class you are, you have access to all weapons and armor types, and this game makes it extremely easy to customize your skills and truly create a character that fits the playstyle that you enjoy the most. Of course, there are ways to maximize your character's potential, but that really only matters in either PvP or some of the endgame trials and such. Another pro in my opinion is the combat. This is not a tab target fighting MMO, but rather an action combat game which makes for a really fun experience in both PvE and PvP. But I will admit, the combat in this game is not perfect due to reasons that I will talk about in the cons section of the video, but overall the combat is something that keeps me coming back to ESO. Another pro is that you can play with your friends regardless of level in almost every part of the game. The only time where you cannot play with your friends is in Cyrodiil if you or your friends are in different factions. Other than that, questing, battlegrounds, dungeons, trials, all of it can be played with your friends. This game also has zero shortage in content. You can easily spend hundreds of hours in the game, plus the Morrowind chapter that now comes when you buy ESO to play. The game has a fully fleshed out housing system and crafting system. It also has ways to join guilds, to buy, sell, or trade with other players. There is a large-scale PvP zone in Cyrodiil where each of the 3 factions are trying to gain control of that zone, and the small-scale Battlegrounds game mode. Tons of delves and public dungeons to explore, quest lines for the different guilds in the game like the Fighters Guild and Mages Guild, the main story quests as well as tons of side story quests. There are big 12-person trials that feature some difficult PvE content. There is just so much stuff to do in ESO. This game of course is not without its flaws, so let's go ahead and talk about what I think are some of the cons in ESO. The first con I want to get into is gear balancing issues. It is not uncommon for you to acquire a certain gear set that you've been grinding for, then logging off for the day and end up finding out the next day that ZeniMax came out with a patch that completely nerfs the gear set you just got into the ground. This is especially prevalent when it comes to PvP. Overpowered gear sets are often nerfed into the ground, and people eventually find out what the next overpowered gear set is, and again it gets nerfed into oblivion, and it seems like this is an endless cycle for ZeniMax. Another con is the endgame for certain players. Once you get there and complete most of the content, which I will say is a lot of content, there really isn't much left to do. It can seem quite repetitive, and with the developers releasing only a set amount of content each year, which at the end of the day isn't a ton of content, the endgame can feel pretty dull for some people. Another con that is similar to one of the pros I mentioned earlier about how you can play any way you like, this is actually because most of the game's PvE content is very easy. If there weren't a ton of different types of enemies to fight, this game's PvE fighting would be really mundane because of how simple and easy it is. Most delves, normal mode dungeons, and enemies you find in the open world will pose almost absolutely no threat to you as you adventure through the game. Another con is ZeniMax's wildly disgusting monetization system. It is at the point, and has been for a long time now, where they almost shamelessly put so much stuff into the Crown Store all of the time. It seems like they purposefully made certain parts of the game so slow in order to try and get you to purchase things from the Crown Store. For example, your mount. There are 3 categories for your mount that all have 60 points to upgrade to, and you can only do one of these 3 categories a day. That's right. So that means you will literally have to play this game 180 days in order to get a fully maxed out mount in ESO, and that's not even character wide. So that means each character you have, you will have to do this. So what does ZeniMax do? They put riding skill books in the Crown Store with hopes that you will spend money on the game in order to advance quicker. At this point in gaming, this really doesn't come as a surprise because of how popular things like this are, but ZeniMax has just found a way to make their monetization feel like you have no choice but to spend money, even though that's just not true. It's just an insane grind for some things. I do also have to say though, none of the stuff in the Crown Store is pay to win. Most of the stuff in the store is purely cosmetic, which does help, but then again, the cosmetic items are always 10 times cooler than the cosmetic items that can be earned in the game, so still really not that much of a plus. Another con is the game's overall performance, especially in the large-scale PvP zone Cyrodiil. You will often experience large frame rate drops and really heavy lag, which will cause you to either not be able to cast abilities, or you will go from having full health to 0 health in literally 0.2 seconds. ZeniMax has for a long time now been attempting to fix the performance of the game, but still seems to be struggling to get things right in this department. Again, there is so much more I could talk about regarding ESO, but I want to know, what do you think are some of the pros and cons of the game? Be sure to let me know in the comments. But with that said, to wrap up and answer the question, is it worth playing ESO in 2021? Of course, I can't answer that question for you, but personally, I think it is. I love this game and always keep coming back to it year after year and enjoy my experience every single time. This game is amazing for both the casual and more hardcore MMO players. If you enjoy PvP, there's tons of potential for you to love this game, but I have heard many times the PvP in this game has a steep learning curve, but once you do learn it, your experience of it gets so much better. But maybe you're more of a questing kind of player. This game will keep you occupied for hours on end. ESO, in my opinion, has something for everyone. Even though the graphics may be lacking, the overall look of the different regions within the game are stunningly beautiful, and even after many hours of playing this game, I will often take a quick second to just admire the beauty ESO has. I think if we're being honest, even with the release of New World, a very popular MMORPG, the genre as a whole just hasn't grown a ton, and ESO still finds itself as one of the top games in its category. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button for more content. I also just quickly want to say the support on the channel has been really crazy lately, so thank you to all of you for the support, and trust me when I say this is just the beginning. But with that said, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we will see you in the next one.